Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Butt Crack Cycles. This is my YouTube channel. I am Paul, and this channel is pretty much just all about old school Harleys. And when I say old school Harleys, I mostly mean 85 and earlier. So Ironheads, Shovelheads, Panheads, etc. If you're new to this channel, that's mostly what this channel is about. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and watching another episode, and I hope you're subscribed. I hate saying stuff like that. It just feels, like I'm selling myself, and I really just do this for fun. But here we are with another episode. And in this episode, we're going to talk about what is a fair, true market value of a Shovelhead today in June of 2023. This episode is sort of inspired by some comments that I have received on a YouTube episode that I published about 2 months ago. I bought a Shovelhead Project bike, and you can go to my profile, and I have a playlist for the Shovelhead. It's like called Frankenstein Shovelhead or something to that effect, I think. And it's basically all my videos that I've done so far about that bike. And I paid $4,800 for this motorcycle. I thought that was a pretty fair price for a motorcycle that met my criteria for what I was looking for in a Shovelhead. It had to have a title. It had to be a complete bike. I didn't really care if it ran and rode, but that was a bonus, and this bike did. I was able to crank it up and ride it around the block before I took it home. So, had a title, it was a complete bike, it ran and rode, and my last criteria was that it had to be within 3 hours one direction from me, which that basically amounts to a full 8-hour day. If you drive 3 hours to go look at a bike, you haggle with the guy about price and test drive it and look it over and all of that, load it up on a trailer, drive 3 hours back home, stop for gas, stop for food, that easily becomes an 8-hour day. So any bikes that I found that were like 5 or 6 hours one direction away, I just wasn't really too serious about, unless they were this screaming deal. And I published that video, and it's been probably my most popular YouTube video so far. But I had a lot of people write comments on it, and they wrote things like this. Let's read some comments. Good $400 score. You can't even buy a set of gas tanks for one of these bikes for $400. I got my Shovelhead for $3,200 with a title. When? 2003? Or if this guy really did get a running, riding Shovelhead for $3,200 with a title, like in the last 3 years, great job, dude. You stole that bike. Stoked for you. This is one of my personal favorites. It haunts my dreams. You get what you paid for, and you got junk. I don't think this bike is junk, but this guy does. You know what they say about opinions. Looks like a complete write-off. Too much dollar sign. Here in Florida, that's a $3,000 bike all day long. I want to dissect this comment a little bit, actually. If you don't follow Chopper Swapper on Instagram, you probably should. There's some good deals on there. And I see Shovelheads in Florida that really are $3,000 to $4,000. They're projects, but they have titles. I don't know what's up with Florida right now and old Harleys, but it seems like you can get a screaming deal on a Harley in Florida. My response to this is, if I bought a $3,500 Shovelhead in Florida, it very quickly becomes a $5,000 Shovelhead by the time I get it all the way back here to South Carolina. I either need to buy a plane ticket and rent a U-Haul and tote it back in the U-Haul, or drive my truck and trailer all the way down there, and then we're back to the whole hotel room, wear and tear on my truck. I have an LLC. This is like one of my businesses, so I could write off some mileage and fuel and stuff like that, but still, I have to spend money on fuel, wear and tear on my truck and my trailer, hotel rooms, food, gas, etc. That $3,500 Florida bike takes up 2 or 3 days out of my life, probably 2 days, honestly. And that's 2 days of labor that I can't bill out to customers, whether it's at my business of working on big trucks or my little side gig of working on motorcycles. So I don't care if that's a $3,000 bike where you live. It's not a $3,000 bike where I live. And in order to sort of prove myself here and vindicate myself from these YouTube troll comments, we're gonna fire up the old Google phone and let's go to Facebook Marketplace. This is where I find most of my deals. We'll talk about this in a little bit. And I'm just gonna live record myself while I screen record my phone, and we're gonna look through shovel heads that are currently for sale right now, today, June of 2023, and see what shovel heads are going for. And before we get too deep into this, I just wanna say, any opinions that I give about these bikes are just my opinions. I'm gonna try really hard not to blast these bikes. I'm not throwing off on anybody who owns these or are listing these unless they're just really obviously crackhead prices for these motorcycles. The point of this video is to basically show people that it's not 1999 anymore. Shovel heads have started to go up in value pretty steadily. Yes, a panhead or a knucklehead is obviously way more expensive. But even iron heads have started to take off in value to some extent. And there are a lot of people who look at Evo Sportsters, like this red bike right behind me, and I have had lots of people write comments about content that I've put out about this red Sportster. Evo Sportster is an 01. That's a new bike to me. And they have said things like, cool, old school Harley. It's not old school to me. It's a 2001. Bottom line though is, this is a 22-year-old bike. So shovel heads and iron heads, stuff that 20 years ago nobody really wanted or you could buy very cheaply, the market on that stuff has started to come up. And there's a lot of people who are just stuck 20 years ago as far as value is concerned. I'm not saying that you have to spend a fortune to buy a good shovel head. I didn't. It's definitely a project bike. I'll probably have $1,000 in it. So let's just say I'll have $6,000 in the bike when I'm done with it. That's cool with me. And I just want to point this out. If you were buying a $6,000 or $7,000 shovel head, though it might have a clean title, it might run, it might ride and stop and shift, and you could ride it home, there is going to be work that you need to do on this bike once you get it home. Any old Harley, whether it's an iron head, shovel head, pan head, even early Evo engine bikes, are going to be some amount of a project. You just have to be willing to put in the sweat equity into that bike to keep it on the road. Alright, enough blabbing. Let's turn on the phone. There's my iron head and my wife. Let's go Facebook Market shopping. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to fire up Facebook Marketplace and I'm going to browse through for you listings. These are listings that Facebook comes up with based off of other things I have viewed in the past and my interest. So as we scroll through here, we will probably find some listings for shovel heads and other old Harleys. Let's start with this right here. 1967 Harley Electroglide FLH. This looks like a basket case. Oh, this guy's parting out this bike. $6,500 looks like for the whole thing. Way overpriced to me. Here we go. 1980 FXS Lowrider, $7,200. But look where it is, Indianapolis, Indiana. This is a 2-day trip for me to buy a $7,200 bike. But hey, this is a nice bike. I like this a lot. Paint's kind of messed up on the left-hand side of the bike, on the tank there. AMF Harley, which is a turn off for some people, not really necessarily for me. 1980 FXS Lowrider has a pretty big listing writing on it. clean Indiana title, new tires, starts, runs, shifts, and rides great. Turnkey bike. $7,200 for something that's ready to go, and it's going to cost me another $1,000 to get home. Let's keep scrolling. Here's a 78 lowrider. Only one picture. This bike has been for sale for 4 months. They've marked it down from $15,000 to $12,000. The only description is driven 15,000 miles and has the 1200 Shovelhead motor. I'm not paying 12 grand for it. Sounds like probably no one else is either. Maybe it's a nice bike. It's a lousy description and lousy pictures. And back to what I was talking about. I'm not trying to talk crap about any of these bikes. There's a lot of people who don't know how to sell a bike. So we're going to see some of that. And this really isn't the point of this episode. We're not trying to teach people how to do good listings. We're just going to look at the Shovelhead marketplace and get a good cross section of what we've got. And here we have an 82 Electra Glide. Has some saddlebags and the tour pack, radio and speakers. I bet none of that works. Wow, they got the primary off. This bike was a one owner 82 special edition. South Carolina title, still an original owner's name. All factory parts and pieces. Currently giving it a good once over and repairing the clutch basket. It's in Asheville, North Carolina, which is about 2.5 hours away from me. $6,800 for a bike that someone is currently still working on. And it's an FL bike. I don't particularly care for those FL style front ends. The FX style front end is way more appealing to me. Again, this is just my opinion and what I like. You might like this more than an FX, but $6,800 for this one. Harley Davidson Shovelhead frame with title, $1,500. 79 lowrider frame with clean title. Frame and title only, no engine. $1,500 buys you a frame only. Your decision if that's a good deal or not. Let's keep scrolling. Here we go. I really like this bike. This is a 77 Super Glide, so that's an FXE. I think this is a nice looking motorcycle. I don't like the ape hangers on it, but whatever. Handlebars and controls and cables and stuff are pretty cheap and easy to swap. However, it's listed 5 months ago, and as you will note, I have already sent a message to this seller. I've sent them multiple messages with my phone number to ask them to please call me because I wanted to buy this bike. I saw this bike months ago when I was looking for mine, and this seller never responded. It says 77 FXE, fresh motor, trans e-thing, maybe I mean everything? I don't know. Paperwork to show, clear title. Can't buy the bike if they won't answer your messages. Here's a 79 Shovelhead. This is a FX of some variety with fishtail exhaust pipes. $5 grand. Runs good, leaks a little oil like most of the other ones. Rear brakes need rebuilt. It stops, but it's squeaky. Speedometer isn't hooked up. $5,000 firm, but it's in Denver, Colorado. It's on the other side of the country from me. I see stuff like this because I'm in some Facebook groups for shovelheads. Alright, let's click this one. It's a 78 lowrider, so FXS. This is in Wallace, South Carolina. I'm not sure where that is. I feel like, judging by the sand in the background of this picture, it's down towards the coast, so maybe 2 or 3 hours away from me. I live in the upstate. This looks like a pretty nice bike. I like this. Yeah, this is cool looking. For $6,500, let's see what they say about it. Matching numbers, original engine and transmission. Motorcycle was went through last year and runs perfectly. Who knows if it was or if it wasn't. Be cool if they had some paperwork. Getting hard to find these old Shovelhead motorcycles in original condition. They're not lying about that. Price is firm. and I will only be talking by phone. Actually, I like that. I love to talk to people on the phone. You can get way more information in a phone call of 5 minutes than you can messaging back and forth. And you can generally kind of feel someone out about it. So for $6,500, I think this is a pretty nice bike and a pretty good buy. I think that's I like that. If I had $6,500 when I was buying a Shovelhead, which I didn't, and this bike had been listed for sale, which it wasn't, I might have gone and looked at it. I think that's a good fair price on a good honest bike. Okay, here's a 69 FLH. It's in Vanceboro, North Carolina. I'm not sure where that is either. Probably 2 or 3 hours away, I would guess. This FL front end, again, not the biggest fan of it. But it doesn't look terrible. Clean and clear title, numbers matching. Not going to spend the time here describing it. PM me, give me your phone number, I'll give you a call. Like we just talked about. I actually do like talking to people on the phone. Price is somewhat negotiable. Doesn't sound like much. Eastern North Carolina near Greenville. So it's about 2 hours away from me, maybe 2.5. $12,500 for this bike. I wouldn't pay $5,000 for it just because I don't like the FL front end. Maybe somebody really likes this bike. Is $12,500 too high for the market on these? I think so. I hope the guy gets it. Hope he's a nice guy. Again, people are pricing these things all over the place, and we haven't seen a single bike yet in the $4,000 range, if I'm not mistaken. I can eat my words. Here we go. 82 Shovelhead for $4,280. But half of it's in a box and it's in Wisconsin. No point in me looking any further than that, living in South Carolina. 83 Harley Davidson Racer. So you know this thing is fast. Looks like a bit of a project. Really cool 83 Shovelhead, has a race bike feel to it. Mids, drags, dual disc, front end belt drive, runs like a beast. Was gonna delete the dash and the speedo. Looks like they stopped halfway through. 5,500, clean Ohio title. It's in Cincinnati, so that's like 8 hours away. So let's just stop scrolling through the For You page. And next up, what I wanna do is use the search function on the phone, and we're just going to type in Shovelhead. So here we go. And some of these, you will notice, are bikes that we've already seen, but some of them are going to be new stuff. So let's look through all of this. Here we go. 83 FXSB Lowrider Shovel. This is in Columbia, South Carolina, so that's around where I was born. It's about an hour and a half away from me. $5,800. This bike is $1,000 more than the one that I bought a month and a half ago. Got the cool 90s blade style front wheel on it rather. Rides great, new carb clutch tune-up, new tires. If he has a title for it, that's probably a pretty good deal. Okay, here we go. Here's a bike for $4,500. 1981 Shovelhead Harley FLT. It's in Morganton, North Carolina. This isn't far from me. Again, I don't like FL bikes generally with the front end, but you could swap this to a FX front end like someone has done on mine. The frame on my bike is a FL frame. Motor and transmission completely rebuilt in 2020, approximately 200 miles. Message for info. If this is legit, that's probably a pretty good deal. This might be the cheapest good Shovelhead we've actually seen. Of course, we haven't seen it in person, and we don't know the quality of the work that was done. I hope it was good. Here's another one. This is an 80 model Shovelhead. It's an FX style bike. This bike was for sale when I was shopping for my bike. $6,500. Most of the original parts that go with it. Starts and runs great. At $6,500, this probably isn't a terrible deal. I don't necessarily think this is a screaming deal, but I do think this is probably a pretty fair price for a bike that you could most likely get on and ride home. Maybe. Again, a lot of this stuff is contingent upon actually seeing it in person and determining what it does and does not need. It's been up for sale for 2 months now, though, and I didn't bite on it. I didn't even want to go look at it because at $6,500 I just didn't have it, and I didn't want to lowball the guy. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have gone and offered the dude $5,000 for the bike 2 months ago. He probably wouldn't have taken it. He might take it now, but I already own my orange Shovelhead. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is I'm just going to type in some year models of Harleys. I'm going to type like 1975 Harley or 1980 Harley. Sometimes you can find stuff like that. That's what you're looking for because your For You page won't pull it up for you, and typing in Shovelhead may not actually get you the result you want. So if you are like me, someone who's constantly browsing for motorcycles that you can buy either for yourself or to turn around and flip a profit on, which I do both of. If you are a regular viewer of this channel, you already know this. I often will search in this way. I'll just scroll through my For You page, then I will search for Shovelhead, Ironhead, Panhead, whatever, and then I'll go through and type in 1970 Harley, 1975 Harley, 1980 Harley, and just kind of bracket my search years. A lot of times you can find some stuff that you won't find otherwise. So let's try that now. So here we go. What do you want to buy? You can see where I've done this before. 1970 Harley. And you'll see we'll find some bikes that we found before. But hopefully we'll find some new stuff. Okay, here we go. We found one like this. 1980. It's FX Wide Glide. Some real close-up pictures of a lot of red. And there's the whole bike. What is that? A hypercharger? Is that what you call that intake? Or that air cleaner, rather. I'm not crazy about this bike. The guy's asking $7,500 for it. The aesthetic of this isn't really what I like. You might like it and think $7,500 is a good deal for it. Again, this appears to be a running, maybe not. Let's read some more. Bike has been sitting for almost a year, both electric and kickstart. Has a short in the starter, will intermittently engage, just kickstart it. On second kick, she fires. So it does run, but you need a leg to do it. Not a big deal for a young guy like me, really, but electric start sure is nice. Super E carb, clean title, price negotiable, not by much. So let's just call it a $7,000 bike that needs a starter put on it. And in my opinion, needs a lot of tidying up and cleaning up and just kind of making it look nicer. Again, that's all opinion stuff. You might look at that bike and say it's perfect for $7,000. You could go put a starter on it and be ready to go, and that's the only thing I would change. So my camera cut off as I was recording, and I went and looked at a few more bikes. I talked a little bit about how my logic is in finding bikes, looking for bikes. I'll start with just my For You page, then I'll go through and do, I'll type in Shovelhead, then I'll type in like 1970, 1975, 1980 Harley and look through those. And then I'll finally type in model numbers, FXS, FXE, FL, FLH, stuff like that, to try and find bikes that you might not pull up with either the year of the bike or the Shovelhead sort of search query. And we found a few more. Nothing was a screaming deal. There's no point in going back and looking at it, really. Let's just wrap this video up. The whole point of this is that the days of buying, running, riding Shovelheads with the title for $3,000 are pretty much gone. And most of these bikes range in that $4,000 to $8,000 range. And if you're in that $4,000 to $5,000 range, you're either buying one of two things. You're buying an FL bike, which tend to be less desirable and sell for lower prices, at least in my area and in my opinion. This is just my take on it, of course. or you're buying what I bought, which is an FX styled bike, or in my case, it's an FL sort of converted to an FX, and it's a project. When you get up in that $7,000 to $8,000 range, however, you can buy bikes with a title that run and ride, and you could probably take them home. The caveat here, though, is that these are like 50-year-old motorcycles. So while the $7,000 bike is certainly way less of a project than the $5,000 bike, if they're both the same year and same trim, let's just say they're both 77 model Super Glides, the $7,000 bike is still going to need work. If you get on that bike and ride it back and forth as your commuter every day, and that's the way I ride my bikes. I don't just park them in the shed and take them to parades or shows or bike night on a sunny 80-degree Saturday in May. I ride my bikes. They get ridden during the week, they get ridden during the dark, they get ridden during the rain, they get ridden during the cold. I ride my bikes. If you're gonna start putting real miles on one of these motorcycles, it doesn't matter if it's a $7,000 or $8,000 bike. It's gonna give you some trouble. It's just the nature of the beast of owning a vintage Harley. And for a lot of us who love these bikes, we love that about them. I like getting my hands dirty. I like knowing every nut and bolt and piece of that motorcycle. I love knowing that when it's running and shaking itself as it goes up the road underneath me, that I turned that wrench and I clicked that torque wrench and I set that timing, and that this is my bike. And I think that's my point. If you only have $4,000 to spend on a Shovelhead, don't feel bad about doing it if it's a project that you're gonna sink another $1,500 or $2,000 into. Could you have gone and saved your money a little harder and longer and bought a $6,000 bike and rode it around right after you bought it? Sure. Is that $6,000 bike still gonna give you some troubles? Absolutely. Don't let haters on the internet get you down. If you buy a cheap Shovelhead and people tell you it's a piece of, then that speaks more to them and their character than it does to you. If you have the will and the knowledge and the skills to put that bike back together and fix it up and put it on the road and keep it on the road, and even if you don't have those skills and those tools, but you're willing to learn and buy the tools and read the shop manual and read online and ask for help and be humble and learn, because I'm still learning every time I touch a bike. Good for you. I hope you guys have liked this episode. If this is a format that you like, if you want to see me do more like Let's Browse for Old Harleys in kind of live fashion where I have my little heads off to the side like it was on this video, let me know. We'll do like early Evos and iron heads. That's mostly what I know other than Shovelheads. I know iron heads more than anything. I had fun making this. That's really the only reason I do YouTube. And with that said, I think I'm gonna go ride my Evo Sportster right now because I paid $2,000 for this bike behind me and it's super reliable. And maybe that makes my point. Shovelheads aren't a logical investment. Ironheads aren't, panheads aren't, knuckleheads aren't. It's something we do because we love them. And I love them. I hope you do too. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next episode.